Hey everyone, this is Howie Schwartz. Welcome. It's Tuesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. As always, we are live on the free OfferVault webinar series. If you're joining us live tonight, that is awesome. Welcome. Please do type in any questions you may have live on the site. And the way you can do that is through the question answer box on the webinar. If you are watching this replay, that is very good too, but we do encourage you to join us live so you can ask questions. We could take a look at your niche markets, take a look at any offers that you may be interested in running. And that's one of the key benefits for making it live. So if you are new to our series, you can click the free training tab, and you're going to be able to see our previously hosted webinars. Please make sure that you are logged in. Lots of great content, lots of pages deep for you to review. So make sure you do check out each and every one of those videos. Tonight, we are going to talk about SEO, search engine optimization, and organic traffic, which is a nice way of saying free traffic. And everyone loves anything that's free in general. But in life, sometimes free does not mean it is of the highest quality. Sometimes people are giving away something free that may be leftover or stale bread at the end of the night, or whatever bad analogy we can come up with in the evening. In this case, it's the opposite, where free traffic, organic traffic, is actually some of the best, if not the best traffic that you can generate. And the reason why is that it is not only because it's free, but number two, it tends to convert the highest. So why I love to focus on building a strategy for organic traffic from day one of each and every one of my niche markets and offers that I'm promoting is, again, not only to obviously save money on paid ads and increase my return on investment, but also because of the strong conversion rates that we can see. It's really important. And we're going to get into why organic traffic many times is going to convert better than even paid media as we get through the session. So before we kick it off, I wanted to mention three things that I like to bring up every week. So number one is focus, attention, right? So what I want everyone to do is shut off, whether you're watching this live or on a replay, shut off your Facebook notifications, turn off your cell phone, put it in airplane mode, and really focus. And that's one of the big things that I'd love everyone to really think about in kicking off 2019 is how can we be more present? How can we have more focus in everything that we do, whether it's family, friends, or business? And very important, this is a business, not a hobby. And you've heard me say this before, that it's very important that we're in the business mindset. And being in a business mindset is about having a goal. It's about making yourself accountable, whether it's to your own goals or to someone that you're working with, like a business partner or something like that. And it's to have the intention of everything that you're doing to generate income, right? So the difference between a business and a hobby is a hobby doesn't make any money, right? A business should. So that's a very important point to think about, is that, how do we start treating this like a business? And for me, one of the best ways to treat this like a business is to really just generate a consistent area where you work on your marketing business, or you watch your free training sessions like this in OfferVault. So it has to be a quiet place in your apartment or house or office, and to shut off your distractions and to track everything that you do. So one of the key things that I love to focus on is to make sure that I am tracking all of my activities in my marketing and my niche research by using a Google Sheet or Google Doc. And I've said this on pretty much every webinar. The key thing for me is I want to always have access to it, whether I'm on the train or at home in the middle of the night. I can always access that online and add to it. So that's really important when we think about this business mindset. And that is one of, I think, the key things that I really wanted to kick off 2019 with is how do we start taking our marketing and our affiliate activities and really focusing it down and treating it like a business. So the second thing, or in this case, the third thing is, so we talked about shutting off our notifications and distractions. We've talked about the importance of tracking everything in Google Sheets or Google Docs. And the third important thing is each and every week, and you want to make sure that you sign up for 10 affiliate networks that you have not signed up for before using OfferVault. And you can click the network tab and you can go through any of the featured networks here or any of the networks straight through. We have over 130 networks that are active, and every week you want to apply for a minimum of 10 affiliate networks. Super, super important to focus on that. And really the top affiliates that we work with in this space of super affiliates who earn 6, 7, 8 figures annually, is one of their secrets is diversification, right? Having access to many, many affiliate networks is really one of the most important things that I'd like to suggest that you really focus on from really right off the bat. Okay, good. Let me see if there's any questions. Let me read through some of these. Okay, great. So we're going to get right into SEO and the importance of organic traffic and the benefits and really the conversion strength that we're going to see when we drive the right type of targeted organic traffic to our affiliate offers. Let's get right into it. So when we think about SEO, the world has changed. So I've been doing this full time for 20 years, so a long time. So, I started when there were other search engines beyond just Google, right? Now all we think about is Google. Also back in the day, 20 years ago, optimization and ranking for a specific keyword or a website was completely different than it is today. 15, 20 years ago, I guess even, going back maybe even, 10, 12 years ago, what I used to do was what I would call very heavy-handed and very kind of brute force, right? So you can approach a market with a sledgehammer or a scalpel. Today, what we're going to talk about is the importance of being a little bit more delicate and using a scalpel. But 10, 15, 20 years ago, online marketing and ranking for SEO was brute force. And there was a lot of what we would call sort of black hat techniques and strategies to be super aggressive. And what I have to tell you is that does not work today at all. So, the way I always used to look at it is every time Google hired 1,000 PhDs, it became harder and harder for me to rank using sort of these black hat and aggressive methodologies. And they've hired so many PhDs and so many experts kind of focused on search and search quality. It's just gotten too difficult to try to play games. The rankings won't stick, they don't work, and I've reformed my ways. So I am a recovered sort of black hat SEO marketer, right? And I used to do crazy things 10, 15, 20 years ago, like having, hundreds or sometimes 1,000 domains across different things called like class CIP addresses, having unbelievable banks of domains across it, doing keyword stuffing, cloaking, just crazy kind of blog farms and just link farms and just unbelievable stuff that worked really well. And it was super profitable. And as I mentioned, every quarter, every 6 months, as Google hired more and more PhDs to combat it, it just became less productive. And you did not get a return on your investment anymore. So the amount of time that I used to spend in trying to rank a website organically just wasn't giving you a return when you were using these very short-sighted, sort of very heavy-handed black hat techniques. So, today I am reformed. I've cleaned up my act, and everything that I do in SEO is purely white hat, and that's what works. And what's important, it's not only that that's what works, it's also it gives you the benefit of having a long-term vision and strategy for your business. Again, and getting back to the concept of business. Years ago, 10, 15, 20 years ago, whatever many years ago, when I was kind of playing these games, yes, it was a business, but it was very short-term focused. And I'd get things ranking sometimes for days or weeks, sometimes months if you were lucky. But you'd always get nailed, right? You'd always get the Google slap, right? And you'd start over. And that today is not what I recommend, my friends, at all. I recommend to have a purely white hat strategy of building sort of this long-term vision and what I like to call sort of this SEO or search engine optimization architecture, this roadmap, this plan around each one of your niche markets and each one of the offers that you're focusing on. It is really important, again, to have that long-term view, and Google will reward you with traffic over time. What I will tell you is that it takes effort, it takes content, and it takes time. It doesn't mean that any of this is hard work at all. And it doesn't mean that you have to spend money and on this. You could do this either for free and write the content and set it up yourself, or you might find that it's more efficient to outsource and to hire writers and content developers to put some of this content together for you. And that's a choice that each marketing business owner, right? Again, this is a business, needs to make each step of the way. And I do encourage you to really kind of think about when you're starting with this, what's your budget? Do you have only enough to register a domain name, right? Do you have some budget left to have some content, developed by an outsourced writer? So having those budget plans in advance is very, very important, because what I find is if you don't have a realistic budget for yourself, then you really can't plan. And that's what having a business and being a business owner is all about. It's all about planning. And you need to be honest with yourself in the budget. So if you want to make someone else feel better or impress someone and say, oh, I have X number of dollars to spend on your business, guess what? It's not helping you. You need to be honest with what your budget is today and realistically what you think it is consistently, right? Be realistic and consistent for a period of time. And for me, I like to think at least 6 months out. It's wonderful to have a 12-month plan. It's a little difficult in many cases, but at least 6 months out. So how can we think 6 months out on what our budget is that we can invest in our business? And if the answer is nothing, that's okay too. You can develop content and write it yourself. But whatever that budget is, try to set it aside and try to be consistent for a period of at least 6 months. That's, I think, something that's very, very important to consider as we're building our business. So this, as I mentioned, takes time. It used to be that we were able to get keywords ranked by Google in minutes or a day, half a day, things like that, using really aggressive techniques. That just does not work anymore. We need to take the long road. We need to take the vision of how do we build, again, a long-term business in partnership with Google instead of worrying about how we get ahead of Google or take advantage of the system. That just doesn't work anymore. So if we give Google what they want, they will reward us and you with free organic traffic. And that's really what we need to start thinking about, is giving Google what they want. So let's start with a market. So let's see some markets that people would like to see. So if you'd like to have me get into a specific niche market tonight or to look at a specific offer, please do type it in and I'm happy to assist you with it. Alrighty, so the first market that came up was around car insurance leads. So let's look at car insurance. So as I mentioned before, I like to use Google Suggest, Google Autocomplete, as I'm starting to type, we see Google making recommendations of other key phrases that your prospects are typing in. This is really important. This allows us to put ourselves in the allows us to put ourselves, in the shoes, right, or behind the keyboards of the desks of our prospects. And this is one of the most important things to think about, is how do we think like your consumer, like your prospect? How do we think like the searcher? How do we understand the intent behind the search? So inspection isn't the right word. Estimator is not the right word. Spanish is kind of interesting. I'm going to write that down and think about maybe translating some of these car insurance offers. We see New Jersey, New York, because that's the area that I'm in. So you want to write down sort of local marketing opportunities. As a calculator, is that something that you could build? Maybe it's probably not the first thing I'm going to do. I'd probably write that down and note it as a long-term opportunity. So let's start here. The next thing that I do is I'll scroll down and look at the searches related to. So we see prices, quotes, free car insurance quotes. I'm going to write that down. So the general car insurance, Allstate, State Farm, Geico, those are all branded names. If you're generating leads related to those companies, then you can build content around it. If not, then I'm typically staying away from those branded names, unless again I have a specific offer that I'm trying to build content around. So again, Progressive's also another sort of keyword in that. So I'm going to write down these key brands because I want to be aware of them and start thinking about if there's affiliate offers from any of these brands. Right, that's important too, because what you're going to find is it's not only about the payout of an affiliate offer. It's also very important to consider. Let's see, insurance. It's also very important to consider what the conversion rate will be of an offer. And what you're going to find is that, oh, sorry, I'm in the network tab. That's why. Sorry, I was in the network tab before. I was wondering why. Let's go back in here. And what you're going to find is that brand names within an affiliate offer will often convert at a higher rate than a non-branded offer. So even with a lower payout, as many times a branded offer will have a lower payout, where you're going to find is that it might be more profitable for you as a return on investment or return on ad spend, return on ad spend if you're running paid marketing, when you're running a branded offer, because people are comfortable with it, right? You have to have trust factor built into it. So that's something to consider when we think about it. So we see things here, auto insurance. So we could take a look at a few things like this. So what's important here is to really think about if there is any branded opportunity. So I don't see any branded insurance providers here, which is perfectly fine, right? But I always do like to look at that, and when there's a branded offer, I tend to not run that exclusively. I'll split test. I'll run that against a non-branded offer with maybe a higher payout, and I'll see which one's going to give me a better return on my investment. Good. So everyone keep on typing in your markets. We're going to keep looking at them. That would be great. So good. So we looked at autocomplete here. We looked at searches related to. Now I want to look at, what Google is thinking about when we're getting into these key phrases, these keywords. But before we do that, I want to dig a little bit deeper into the long tail of search, because what that does is allows us to get deeper into the funnel, so deeper into kind of the buying funnel, or stronger intent from your prospects. So they're doing less browsing and more sort of action, right? That's one of the ways to think about it. But also you'll find it's much easier to rank for. So a term like this, 2.7 billion pages, right? It's going to be very difficult to rank for something like this. So free car insurance quotes, 214 million, still fairly aggressive, but we can start to drill down here. So let's start here. So I'm going to write down kind of who's advertising, and I want to understand kind of the brands involved. And then what I want to do is I want to see what is ranking organically and why, right? So we're going to open up a few of these pages. So this is, the general, this is Allstate, Liberty Mutual. So these are tough. I mean, it's going to be, really impossible to kind of outrank these sort of branded companies. So I'm also going to want to look at like compare.com, the Zebra, right? So let's look at some of the non branded companies, or let's get a little bit deeper maybe into the long tail here. Let's look at free car insurance quotes for bad credit or bad driving records. There you go. Kind of interesting. High risk. Let's drill down here. So I'm going to write down these keyword modifiers. So like free is a keyword modifier, quotes is a modifier, bad driving records as a phrase is a modifier. So this will get interesting. So, we're down to 32 million results. If we start to look at this in quotes for exact match, 5,400 results. So you can start to rank here. This is kind of interesting, actually. So high risk car insurance. So I'm going to write that down as a keyword. Bad driver. I'm going to write that down. Bad insurance quotes. Bad driver quotes. Let's see here. High risk is coming up again. Interesting. For high risk drivers, high risk auto insurance, I'm going to write this down. Bad driving records. High risk. Bad driving records. With tickets or accidents. So again, some more keyword modifiers here. So I'm starting to write down all of these keywords, right? And all of the related keywords, because it's really important that when we get to the long tail, right, where we start to get to markets and keywords that we can start to make a dent in, right, that we can start to rank for. But also we want to understand what those secondary keywords are, because it's not just about kind of stuffing keywords anymore like it was a decade ago to rank. We really want to consider what those secondary related keywords are to build thematically relevant content for Google, right? And that's kind of really what this is all about. So let's start looking at some of these companies that are ranking. So and I'm going to not bother with the progressives and things like that and those sort of authoritative sites from the brand. So let's take a look here. NerdWallet, Insurance Panda. So State Farm, I'm going to skip. Value Penguin. So you notice the difference, right? So when we looked at the free insurance quotes before, it was dominated by all of the brands. Now we just see State Farm over here, right? So you start to see how you have more, and then the generals down here. That was like number one before when we were looking. So now when we look here, now all of a sudden we have more opportunities to rank, right? And then also some understanding of the types of related keywords and key phrases that Google is going to be interested in, right? To rank, because that's what this is all about. It's all about giving Google what they want, right? So we want to understand the content that's being developed on these sites that are ranking and see what we can learn from it. So let's take a quick look. So this is the general insurance. Hold on, we were here before. Where did we start with the bad debt ones? There we go. So this is the Zebra that's ranking. So it starts with a zip submit. Kind of interesting. There's a lot of offers that you're going to find in the insurance space that start with zip submits, right? Now we're here at high risk insurance. So we start to see here, when we look at the page title, we start to see high risk auto insurance, free high risk insurance quotes online. So I like to write down all of the page titles from the sites that are ranking high for my keywords, because I want to understand that from Google's perspective, but also I want to develop something. I want to develop the SERPs, which is your search engine result pages, right? I want to develop my SERPs where they are attractive to generate clicks, right? So if you have just some really basic sort of page title, right? And Google is presenting it here. If it's not something that's enticing or intriguing to the user, guess what? They won't click on it. They're going to scroll down and click on another listing. So it's really important that we include call to actions and have sort of some thought behind our page titles. And again, it's not just about kind of stuffing keywords in there. So I like to write down my page titles. You also see high risk insurance in the navigation. You're going to see it in the URL, right, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. You're going to see it in your titles. You're going to see it within the content. So when we start to look and write this down in in your Google in your Google sheet or Google Doc, you're going to start to see a lot of consistency with what key phrases and what phrases are ranking across these different pages, of course, these different competitive sites in the top 10, top 20. And I like to write all of that down. And the reason why is I want to come up with sort of this secondary and primary keywords that Google is looking at and saying, yes, this is contextually relevant. This is the type of content that we want to see. So I'm writing these key phrases down. So again, for high-risk drivers and NerdWallet, you can start to see the content, have tickets, at-fault accidents, DWI. So I'm going to write all of this down as a new license, foreign driver's license. So I'm going to write all of these bullets down because guess what? If you do keyword modifiers for this, we did car insurance for at-fault accidents or DUI, or car insurance and new licensed drivers, or foreign driver's license, car insurance for poor credit. If you went through all of these are all key phrases that you can start to rank for in the long tail, right? Develop content for, and then start to run your affiliate offers to monetize on that traffic. So this is just awesome. So I'm a really big fan of finding content that is ranking right now in Google, and to be able to drill even deeper down in the funnel and drill even deeper down into making sure that we have lots of content. And that's really what we're going to get into tonight. Also, it's not just about having sort of this thin content in one article. We're going to talk about the importance of kind of building out your content strategy just as deep as you can is really the key. And this is giving us all of the meat, everything that we need to attract Google. So some major insurance firms. So this is listing different firms and whatnot as a review. Okay, good. Next, we can look at Insurance Panda. Again, a zip submit too. So when I start to see that, I want to look back at OfferVault and see kind of who's running zip submits. It's important this says desktop only, right? So this is not permitting mobile traffic. So something to think about too. So this is important to consider when we see multiple sort of zip submits or front ends. Like, you want to start looking for offers related to that because it's probably converting really, really well, right? So it's something to think about. So again, I'm looking at the URL with bad driving records. So now I'm writing bad driving records, tickets. Again, I'm writing all of this down. Bad driving records, those drivers. So yes, bad. So you see how they're starting to use titles, right? Deeper content around DWI and DUIs. So this to me is super important and super helpful to start going through and understanding again what type of content we can start to develop. And I'm writing this all down as I'm working through this. Again, I'm looking for common phrases, cheap car insurance, those with bad driving records, best I'm seeing as a modifier, cheap, low cost. So I'm going to write all these points down. Racing, running a stop sign, careless driving. So car insurance for reckless driving, car insurance for at-fault accidents. So I want to write all of this down. So this to me is really one of the best ways to come up with your content development is just look at what Google is respecting. Look at what Google is already ranking for. Can we use keyword research tools? Sure. We'll look at that again. We've done that a little bit in the past on previous webinars, but we will look at keyword research tools again moving forward on future webinars. But for now, we don't even need to use a keyword research. So Google is telling you exactly what they want to see content-wise, and we just need to feed that back to them. And again, I'm also paying attention to our page titles. Best cheap car insurance for those with a bad driving record. Car insurance for bad drivers with tickets or accidents. So again, writing all of this down. So this for me is just, really the best way, best way to start, to developing our content and our SEO strategy. You just go right to the beast, see exactly what Google is ranking right now. So again, you're going to see a lot of similarities in phrases. Preferred risk, standard risk, high risk. I'm going to write this all down. Causing of an accident, serious traffic violations, without a license. So now we're going to write car insurance for a ticket without a license, car insurance for excessive speeding, street racing, right? So this is stuff that I haven't thought about before. So we say car insurance for speed racing tickets. So you start to develop for content for things like this: speeding, street racing, and all of a sudden you can start to rank really, really well. So this is again how we get into the long tail of search and kind of really drill this deep to come up with the types of keywords that we want to focus on, both primary and secondary, but also the type of content that we want to develop. And that's what we're going to be talking about on the next webinar, is thinking about how do we develop content from an SEO perspective. Tonight's really just thinking about the mindset of using Google to tell us exactly what they want and what they want to see ranking, and how do we get for the to the benefit of the long tail and understanding kind of these buying keywords and these modifiers. All right, let's take a look here. So Phillips wants to see bodybuilding tips. Okay, good. So that's also going to be a very, very competitive market. So as we start to type this, we can see what's coming up. For cutting, I don't know what that means. Tricks with photo, for chest, for skinny guys. There you go. Get shredded for short guys, for beginners. So I'm going to write all this down. It's kind of interesting. I don't know what cutting means, so we'll look at that later. But you could write down for chest or arms or things like that. For skinny guys, I would write down as a modifier. For short guys, for beginners. So let's look at bodybuilding tips for short guys. So a short man's guide to working out better. 4 training tips for short guys. Make short men look better. Short guy tips for bulking up. Really interesting. So this is something that I would have not thought about. Do muscles make you look taller? So these are just great content points and things that I really would have not thought about. A best physiques for short guys, short bodybuilders, short fit guys, short guys with abs, weightlifting for short guys, workout plans for short guys. So again, I'm going to really be thinking about each one of these points. One of the other key things that I mentioned too, in addition to searches related to, is I really like to leverage people always ask. This is a wonderful way to have Google tell you what else they're thinking about that's thematically relevant and interesting to their topic. So these are some interesting questions, and you can start to develop content and write content around this stuff, leveraging people always ask. So working out make you look shorter, stronger. So anything like this is I'm going to write all of this down and put this all in my Google sheet, especially when we start to think about related to in this case, shorter men, whatever it is. This to me is just sort of this smorgasbord, right, of content that we can start to develop, and also thinking about these primary and secondary keywords that we're building around. So just interesting. So I wouldn't just do bodybuilding tips. I would go deeper, whether it's for short guys or skinny guys, or whatever is relevant. But you have to go deeper into the long tail to be able to rank. But that's a pretty interesting market. So Clyde wanted to see cybersecurity. So everyone can keep on typing in markets. So we start to see specific countries and locations, jobs related to it. So we want to get more into the long tail. So we want to see like cybersecurity, like what's the goal here. So courses. So is this about cybersecurity where someone's trying to get a job, or cybersecurity for a business? So let's get a little bit deeper. So cybersecurity for business leaders. So we can start to drill down more. So that's really the key here is that we want to find what's the hook here. So what happens if we say cybersecurity for small businesses? What about women-owned businesses? So this all of a sudden is a way for us to really start to drill down, where we can come up with keywords that we're focused on and content that we develop that can rank, right? So just writing about cybersecurity or bodybuilding or car insurance, you're never going to rank it, or it'll take 5 years and an unbelievable amounts of content and resources to be able to start ranking for those really broad top of the funnel terms. And they're not going to convert really well too, because you don't really know what the person wants. But we can start to be more specific and develop content down to this level in the long tail, then all of a sudden, not only will this convert better, as I mentioned before, because it's further down the funnel, it's more directly answering a consumer or prospect's question, but also really important is you have a shot. You have a chance of ranking for cybersecurity for women-owned businesses, or bodybuilding tips for short guys or skinny guys, or whatever it is, right? Because you're going down into the long tail. There's just less competition. So those are the benefits on why we really think through, and we use Google as our friend, where we don't fight against Google, where we're not fighting, we're not against Google anymore as a war, so we're trying to partner and leverage Google by providing relevant content and well thought out primary and secondary keywords, as we described today, and consistency of content, being able to publish content on a regular basis, which is going to be our next webinar. Our next webinar is going to be talking about how do we develop SEO friendly content, and how do we publish that on a regular, consistent basis for rankings. So that's going to be the next webinar that we focus on to continue this theme of SEO and just sort of amazing converting organic traffic. Awesome, everyone. Thanks again for joining. This is Howie Schwartz for OfferVault. Every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, we do a live webinar. Please join us live so we can look at your niche markets and offers and answer your questions. Please make sure to watch our previous replays. Focus, track everything, and every single week, sign up for a minimum of 10 affiliate networks is probably my best piece of advice that I can give to you each and every week. So again, just go to the network tab on OfferVault. Thanks again, everyone. Look forward to working with you next week. And we're going to continue this. Thanks again.